Education Department said today, beginning May 5th, it will resume collections on borrowers who've defaulted on their student loans. The New York Times reports that around 4 million people have been reported to credit bureaus this year for late student loan payments. And by one estimate, that will climb to 9 million people by the end of June. Education Secretary Linda McMahon wrote in the Wall Street Journal that some borrowers may see their wages automatically
If you are one of the
withheld.
millions of federal student loan borrowers who are still in default, in just 2 weeks, you're going to be sent to collections. That's according to today's announcement from the Department of Education. The Education Department says a huge percentage of federal student loan borrowers are either not paying on their loans or are in default. And Secretary Linda McMahon says enough is enough. Starting on May 5th, if you have not made a payment, enrolled and are paying in some kind of income-driven repayment program, or signed up for some kind of loan rehabilitation, you're going to be notified that you're being sent to collections. And by later this summer, if you still haven't done anything to get your loan back into good standing, the Trump administration is going to start sending notices, and your wages and Social Security payments are going to be garnished. Now, in case there was any question, under the Trump administration, there will be no form of student loan forgiveness. The Education Department says student and parent borrowers, not taxpayers, must repay their student loans. There will not be any mass loan forgiveness. Together, these actions will move the federal student loan portfolio back into repayment, which benefits borrowers and taxpayers alike. Now, this goes for all kinds of student loans taken out by parents and students, including those loans authorized under the Federal Family Education Loan Program. So if this is you, what should you expect? Well, the Department of Education says the Treasury Offset Program will be sending you an email in the next 2 weeks, making you aware of your default status and warning you about this collections thing. They'll push you into the default resolution website where you can figure out how to get your specific loan back into good standing. That website is up and running right now. The Department of Education says there is also a new loan simulator AI assistant called Aiden that is now available on studentaid.gov's website, which is like a chat box to help you navigate how to get your loan into compliance. There's also a chart to help you determine what your options are between loan rehabilitation or possibly loan consolidation. The notice today says your loan servicer has also extended call time, so you can try and contact them directly as well. The Department of Education says they plan to launch an enhanced income-driven repayment process, which will simplify the time it takes for a borrower to enroll in an IDR plan and eliminate the need to recertify income every single year. That new process, they say, will be available by next week. It's also worth noting the Trump administration completely removed the ability for any borrower to apply for any kind of income-driven repayment program for several months once Trump took office, and then just recently, like a few weeks ago, re-engaged the IDR button on the website. It's also worth noting that the federal government has not been sending student loans in default to collections since the pandemic. We're talking March of 2020. President Trump, during his first term, was the first to issue forbearance of federal student loans. And then, as you remember, of course, there were multiple forbearance extensions under the Biden administration, along with that on-ramp program to help you transition your loan from forbearance into repayment and good standing. And now the Trump administration is taking a hard line on getting you to pay your federal student loans once again. So if you want to read this notice from the Education Department, or if you want the links to all of the websites I mentioned, I'm going to email all of that out to you in my next Facts HQ email, which is going out tonight. And I know it's last minute, but if you are signed up for my Substack, you will be able to see it on my page.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into something that affects millions of Americans, especially those of us who've had to take out student loans just to chase our dreams of a better future. We're talking about the Trump administration's move to roll back key student loan forgiveness protections, measures that were designed to give borrowers a fighting chance. Whether it was forgiveness for public servants, teachers, or those defrauded by for-profit colleges, these programs were lifelines. But now, those lifelines are being threatened. Let's break it down. But before I do, I would like to ask you to subscribe to the channel, which would help this new channel grow, as well as help with continuing to get the messages out to the people. I mean, you won't believe how the numbers break down, but we will get into that a little later. Thank you so much in advance. Rolling back these protections doesn't just impact policy, it impacts people. Real people. Nurses, teachers, social workers, and first-generation college students. People who believe in the promise that if they work hard, play by the rules, and gave back to their communities, their debt would be manageable or maybe even forgiven. Instead, they're being told, you're on your own.
The Trump administration has announced we will put an end to Joe Biden's illegal student loan bailout attempts. No student loan has been referred to collection since March of 2020. That comes to an end. On May 5th, the Department of Education will resume involuntary collections for borrowers with defaulted federal student loans. The student loan portfolio controlled by the federal government is nearly $1.6 trillion, but fewer than 4 out of 10 borrowers are in repayment. This is unsustainable, unfair, and a huge liability for American taxpayers. Debt cannot be wiped away. It just ends up getting transferred to others. So why should Americans who didn't go to college or went to college and responsibly paid back their loans pay for the student loans of other Americans? The Trump administration will never force taxpayers to pay student loan debts that don't belong to them. Student loan borrowers need clarity, and we're finally giving it to them. Borrowers will now be clearly expected to repay their loans, and those who default on their loan obligations will face involuntary collections. The government can and will collect defaulted federal student loan debt by withholding money from borrowers' tax refunds, federal pensions, and even their wages. America is $36 trillion in debt. We must get our fiscal house in order and restore common sense to our country. If you take out a loan, you have to pay it back. It's very
Taking
simple.
out student loans was the single-handedly worst mistake I've ever made in my entire life. At this point, a college education is pointless. It was pointless. There's no hope. I've been paying on my student loans for more than 13 years now, and I've more than paid back the amount that I took out, and then some because of interest. And there's all this misinformation and false hope around forgiveness and qualifying payments and I checked the boxes for 90% of the qualifying factors, but I'm gonna have to pay on my loans for another 5 years minimum, and that's if there's even any type of program around that time for forgiveness before I can even qualify, even though I meet the qualifications now. But because I don't check that one last box, there's nothing that can be done. Nothing has made me feel more hopeless and just helpless and just at full defeat than these student loans.
The Education Department is warning that if we don't pay back our student loans, that our wages are going to start being garnished. I thought y'all were supposed to be somewhere not existing. When they dismantled the Education Department, they also dismantled my $56,000 in student loans that I owe, okay? And the thing is, I shouldn't even owe those loans. I should not even owe those loans. For half my college career, I was literally a homeless student. And their solution was, here are more predatory loans so you can get a degree and go work in public service. Oh my God, why do you want it to be free? You should just went into a trade. It wasn't offered to me. It was not offered to me. I would have loved to have gone into a trade and been an electrician and not had student loan debt, but I did what I needed to do. I was 17 years old. You gave a 17-year-old $30,000 in student loans, and now I'm supposed to pay it back? The Education Department was dismantled. So why are my student loans not dismantled? Talking about garnishing wages. 5 million people, y'all out y'all mind.
I don't understand how y'all could forgive all these billionaires who took out PPP loans when they didn't take no loss during COVID. Forgive all those loans, but don't forgive the 18-year-old who got $50,000 with no income, no credit history, because y'all told us that we need to go to college to get a good job. We don't get no forgiveness, but the billionaires who already get all these tax cuts, they get their loans forgiven. When I first graduated college, and I think it's 6 to 9 months before you get the letter to start paying back, my payment was $580. And I'm just like, who the hell has $580? I just graduated college. Who has $600 to give y'all every month? And when I tried to change it, I'm like, I'm trying to make payments. I can't make no $600 payment. They were not trying, there was no leeway. It was deferred. So I deferred. And then, about a year ago, over a year ago now, but over a year ago, my company did mass layoffs and I got laid off. So then I deferred it again. But long story short, I'm going to get my master's degree. I need some more time, okay? I work for the bank. They're going to pay for it anyways. Might as well just go back and get some more time because I don't have $750 to give y'all or however much money they're going to say that I owe them. I got trips to go on. I got stuff to do, okay? I don't have time. I will wait until we get some forgiveness for the next president to come in because somebody's going to have to forgive something. Y'all could forgive the millionaires and billionaires. Y'all can forgive me, an 18-year-old who should have just went to trade school or some shit. What are y'all gonna do?
This isn't just about numbers. It's about dreams deferred, mental health strained, families put on hold, and futures shackled by interest and bureaucracy. It reinforces a system that punishes the pursuit of education rather than rewarding it. So we have to ask ourselves, who benefits when forgiveness is rolled back? And more importantly, what kind of future are we building if we turn our backs on the very people we said we'd support? Does Trump not think that people are wondering, how can we make America great again if education of the people is not a top priority? What message are we sending to young people who are considering higher education? That it's a trap? That even if you do everything right, graduate, get a job, serve your community, you'll still be burdened by debt for decades? These rollbacks hit hardest among vulnerable populations, first-generation college students, low-income borrowers, and communities of color who are already navigating systemic inequality. It deepens the wealth gap, it erodes trust, and it tells a generation that their pursuit of a better life might not be worth the cost.
Let's talk a little bit more about the federal government sending student loan debt to collections and what that actually means. We do know that's starting May 5th, but some of you in the comments of the last video accused me of fear-mongering for just reporting what was already being reported by the news stations. So let's actually look at some of the memo put out by the Department of Education. So we'll start at the second bullet point here. More than 5 million borrowers have not made a monthly payment in over 360 days and sit in default, many for more than 7 years, and 4 million borrowers are in late stage delinquency, 91 to 180 days. As a result, there could be almost 10 million borrowers in default in a few months. When that happens, 25% of the federal student loan portfolio will be in default. Only 38% of borrowers are in repayment and current on their student loans. Most of the remaining borrowers are either delinquent on their payments in an interest-free forbearance or in an interest-free deferment. A small percentage of borrowers are in a 6-month grace period or in school. It did go on to say that 1.9 million borrowers or so are in a program where they haven't been able to get into some program because the program has been shut down since essentially November. So for people trying to get into IDRs or any of these other programs, those aren't accepting applications right now. Even though you can still apply for it, they're not processing them. But now that we have those definitions down, look at here. Involuntary collections for defaulted borrowers. FSA will start the Treasury Offset Program administered by the U.S. Department of Treasury on Monday, May 5th. All borrowers in default will receive email communications from FSA, so student aid, over the next 2 weeks, making them aware of these developments and urging them to contact the default resolution group to make a monthly payment, enroll in an income-driven repayment plan, which they're hoping to start fully back up, or sign up for loan rehabilitation, so either deferment or some sort of forbearance. Later this summer, FSA will send required notices beginning administrative wage garnishment. In the memo, which is all on the Department of Education's website, they also have support for current and struggling borrowers. FSA is committed to keeping borrowers updated with clear information about their payment options to put them on a productive path towards repaying their federal student loans. And then it goes through the same thing. So you can launch they're going to launch an enhanced income-driven repayment process, simplifying the time that it'll take borrowers to enroll in an IDR plan and eliminating the need for borrowers to recertify their income every year. And they're going to have more information out on StudentGov next week. All of this being said, I've always told you guys, I'll be straight with you and give you the information I have. So now that we have some more information, it looks like if you're on an IDR, if you're in forbearance or in deferment, you're not going to have your wages garnished. They're not going to send you to collections. It's just those that haven't made a payment. But I do know from reading through as many of the comments as I could that there is a lot of people out there, in fact 1.9 million people according to the Department of Education, who can't get on an IDR due to a Biden-era policy where they stopped accepting applications. So you haven't been able to rectify the situation, and because your loan was involuntarily put in forbearance and then started up without telling you, you haven't been able to make a payment. And in a lot of the times, they shifted who to make the payment to without even notifying the actual person that has the student loan out. So there's a whole lot of issues with federal student loans right now, and this isn't going to help. Forcing people to pay back their student loans when the economy's already in the tank is one of the reasons that Biden decided to not pursue these actions, even though Congress had passed them. So, yes, some people are going to be sent to collections. According to the Department of Education, 5.3 million, unless they can get on some kind of IDR or other program. That's the information. Those are the facts. Not fear-mongering out here. Just giving you the information I have when I have it.
Are paid. You guys could have had fucking loan forgiveness, but you had to vote for Trump, right? The fact of the matter is, while implementing all of this, do not forget that most of these Republican representatives took out PPP loans during COVID, loans that they took out for none other than propping up their own personal selves or businesses to ensure it didn't collapse under COVID, had all of those PPP loans wiped out, meaning they didn't pay them back. Billionaires, millionaires, celebrities, they were all getting PPP loans. Don't forget that. And while we're talking about the financial outlook of America, let's look at these facts. Billionaires' wealth increased 88% since COVID. Private investors bought nearly half of all homes in 2023. Families in 2024 have to earn 80% more than in 2020 just to buy a house. Chronic homelessness and the amount of people who are homeless in America right now has steadily increased. And they want to give billionaires tax breaks. They want to further reward the rich that have been making a fucking killing while we've all struggled the last 5 years. But yeah, tell me how they're here for the middle class and the working people. Bitch, they're here for the billionaires and their fucking buddies. Drain the swamp. They brought the swamp. It's gotten fucking swampier since they've been there. Facts matter. Reality matters.
These rollbacks hit hardest among vulnerable populations, first-generation college students, low-income borrowers, and communities of color who are already navigating systemic inequality. It deepens the wealth gap. It erodes trust. And it tells a generation that their pursuit of a better life might not be worth the cost. We can't ignore how damaging that is, not just economically, but emotionally. The stress, the anxiety, the feeling of being stuck, it takes a toll. And we need to be honest about that. So the question is, who are we prioritizing when we gut these programs? And what kind of society are we building if we penalize people for trying to improve their lives? If we truly believe in the value of education, if we believe in equity and opportunity, then we need systems that reflect that. We need to hold policymakers accountable, not just for budgets and balance sheets, but for the lives they affect with every decision. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Are you someone impacted by student loans? How would these changes affect you or someone you love? Thanks for watching, and remember, education should be a bridge, not a burden. Let's keep the conversation going. We see you.